The time is here! AEW Fight Forever. I have been anticipating this game, especially somebody who is new to the AEW brand as a whole. I saw bits and pieces of it. I admit that I'm kind of a noob at the storylines of what's currently going on, since my family and I have always grown up watching WWE. But as of the past few years, I have been breaking away from WWE and kind of want something that feels like the wrestling I used to watch, the wrestling that I grew up on. And then AEW started to catch my eye. But everybody ingests their wrestling differently. Me, since I haven't really sat down and watched a full episode, I just watch matches of wrestlers that I have seen in WWE transition to AEW, and I watch their matches on YouTube because they upload the full matches on the AEW YouTube page, and I have to admit, I am impressed with a lot of these matches. I'm impressed with how well they're done, how well they're booked, and even taking people that are old like Sting and still making them feel cool in a even though, yeah, of course he's old. Like I said, dude's old, but he was one of the wrestlers that I used to watch growing up and have seen later as I got older. But AEW Fight Forever was a game that I knew was going to be a tough sell. Why? Because the past few years, everyone has been used to simulation WWE. And of course, where I see a lot of reviews going wrong is they're trying to compare this to a WWE 2K game. This is what I need you to do. Go into this game and remove WWE from your mind. Take yourself back to when wrestling games were good. That's where you need to put your mindset. When wrestling games were good. But there is some negative here that I wish they could have done, but since it's their first outing, since it's an AEW's first video game outing, I'm not going to be too harsh, but I am going to be harsh on the stuff that needs to be said. One, there could have been more modes. There could have been more creation tools, because I'm a huge creation buff. If that's one thing I say WWE has over this, is creation tools. I like to create random wrestlers. I like to create my friends, and I like to create other YouTubers that follow me so I can do my YouTube wrestling videos. I could still do that with this, but I have to be very specific in what I choose. I'm pretty sure they're going to add more stuff and update it, DLCs, things like that, but you should have went strong and out the gate. And I get they wanted to play safe. They wanted to focus on what is essentially the gameplay. And I'll tell you that. That's where it exceeds. That's where it really takes over. But this does come with some caveats. The game right now has some issues, especially with some of the combat, some of the glitches, but they are not game breaking glitches, and they don't disrupt your fun. Now, the roster here, at least to me, is a pretty solid roster. I don't know a lot of the AEW guys, but I do know the characters that were from WWE crossing over into this one. Like, of course, I know Cody. I know Jon Moxley. I know Dustin Rhodes, Sting. I know the traditional people that I grew up watching. Chris Jericho, things like that. But the wrestlers in this game, they look pretty cool to me, and they are pretty good, faithful, although, albeit, more animated. If that's one thing that I actually do like, I like that they didn't go with a hyper-realistic, they want to show, like what WWE 2K does, they want to basically give you the TV show in video game form. Where here, it focuses more on being an actual video game. And that's what I enjoy about it. Now, one thing I said in my first impressions was the road to Elite. It's just like a very glorified challenge mode that you just got to progressively get yourself better, go through challenges, and just keep going. It will remind you a lot of Dragon Ball Sim from Tenkaichi 3. Even though that mode was cool for the time, I felt like you could have given people, and I know a lot of people don't like story modes in wrestling games. I'm one of the very few in that minority that do. I don't know, something about just seeing myself interact and being part of a story mode. If that's one thing I could say that the 2K games have over this and the other WWE games have over this, is when you create a character, there is at least albeit generic, or sometimes you can alter the course of the story, with your character. It just makes you feel more involved. And I know there's people that don't really do that. They just want to go straight to online, straight to, because wrestling games are just more of a party game. Let's be real. They're just party games. You get your friends together, or you could play by yourself online with them. Either way, you're just going in to have a good time. You're not really trying to immerse yourself. But here, you'll immerse yourself with the gameplay. It's quick and straight to the point from everyone's intros that are not overly glorified like the WWE intros. Everyone here looks like faithful recreations of who they are. Crossing that, keeping that fine line between uncanny, because yeah, they're a little cartoonish here, but still faithfully representing who they are. Now, if you go into this thinking that you're going to be playing a simulator, a wrestling simulator, you're going to get kicked very hard in the fucking marbles. This is not simulated wrestling. This is actual arcade levels of fun. This is what it felt like when we played NWO Revenge, when we played No Mercy, when we played Just Bring It, Shut Your Mouth, games like that. It reminds you of the good days of when wrestling games were fun. And yes, even early WWE games. WWE strayed away from that. AEW looks to reignite that flame. And comparing it to a WWE game is not really a fair comparison. You need to compare it to the games that the developer of this, which was Ukes, and mainly the original developers of those old school wrestling games. You need to compare it to the wrestling games they did. And out of all the wrestling games they did, it stands side by side with their greats. Maybe with more time, I heard there's a rumor that this game's going to be supported up to 3 years, then you can basically iron it out more. But right now, it's the gameplay and the fun factor that is going to keep you going with this. And I enjoyed the gameplay for the most part. And like I said in my first impressions, I explained a little bit that in WWE games, I could set the difficulty to the max difficulty. I could breeze through it. Here, you need to get really good before trying to play it on Elite. Because in this game, if you think you can just relax for a second, no. Especially when you're dealing with handicap matches, certain tag matches, or the fatal four-way type matches. And one of my favorite matches in this game is the exploding barbed wire match. I wish they could have did more modes like Hell in a Cells. I know that's a WWE thing, but I'm pretty sure you could just call it something else like electric cage match or exploding war zone in the cell. I don't know, but pretty sure they're going to add stuff like that later, because right now you have basically what would be the core modes of a wrestling game. You have your tags, your singles, your free-for-alls, your weapons, a ladder match. It's just that they're done very differently. Like, typical Royal Rumbles are called Battle Royales, and it has a casino-type vibe, which is really cool. I actually like the whole poker-type style to it. And what I did like how it handled how you use weapons. It handled the effect of just not being gratuitous with the blood. You don't just beat someone's skull in WWE until they're bloody. You use like thumbtacks and weapons and exploding barbed wire bats. Those are what make it fun and keep it with that arcade vibe. Like, I literally freaked the fuck out when I pulled out a propane tank. And look, people are gonna say, well, no shit, John, propane tanks. Listen to what I gotta fucking say about this. Listen. In any wrestling game, you would think you can just throw the propane tank and it just works as like a throwing weapon and you just knock someone out because of the weight of the tank. Hell to the fuck no. You throw the shit, it explodes. Kaboom, ba-boom, blow, bing, bomb, fire. Okay? Or as Beavis would say, fire, fire, fire. Yes, fire. Okay? That right there solidified me as, you know what, whatever might be wrong with the game right now, which I don't recommend you getting in unless you're a hardcore wrestling fan, especially if you're an AEW fan. Me, I've been wanting a game like this, so of course I bought it. But I was interested in what was introduced. Like, in a way, I'm kind of disappointed by the mini games they added. I mean, they're fun, they're nice distractions, but I think they should be able to should have had more of them. And there's some that are, I think, exclusive to the Road to Elite, because I've played some there that are not usable, and maybe you unlock them, because I'm still going through it, because there's a lot to unlock. I think there's certain things that you have to unlock by playing Road to Elite, but I'm not too sure. And I do like, though, that it returns to the old money currency system of the old wrestling games. You have a reason to keep playing. And that is something that's what it needed. That's what WWE games needed. A reason to keep playing. Despite whatever flaws the game may have when it comes to some of its glitches, especially there are a few that I've encountered, especially when it comes to some of the grapples and some of the rope specials and attacks. And I think one in one of the mini games that I played, but other than that, you really don't get bothered by it, if at all. You don't really get bothered by it. Now, I'm not going to recommend the game to just any casual wrestling fan. Like I said, it needs to be for a specific audience, and if you were somebody that grew up with the great wrestling games of old, then of course this game is going to be for you. You're going to push through it. You're not going to care if it has problems. You know, you're really not. But if you're a person looking for a complete experience, it's just hard to say. You know, and yes, I could say that, yes, I'm a noob at the AEW license, but I am a fan of old school wrestling games. So I was going to feel like I got my money's worth, and whatever they add and whatever they patch and fix, you know, I really want this game to get even better. Therefore, it can be recommended to people, because I feel that AEW Fight Forever lays the foundations of what THQ and Ukes can do. Well, THQ Nordic, what they can do, and eventually, yes, compete with WWE games. You just have a good foundation, and I get it. They wanted to play safe. I understand that. And you know what? I don't blame them for doing that. But with the seeds sowed in place, maybe with another AEW game, and they can go fully all out, or at least add to this one, I believe they'll eventually top, or if not equal, the WWE simulation games. Anyway, this is Emperor John, Kyo3D Gaming. Be sure to like, subscribe, favorite. I'll see you on the next video, and tell me if you played the game or not. Let me know in the comments.